right, Bills Mafia, buckle up because this one's got layers. We're heading into a matchup that might look like just another mid-season clash. But when you start peeling it back, there's way more drama, storylines, and pressure than anyone wants to admit. Let's start with the obvious one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are walking into this game banged up, tired, and honestly, looking for a spark. But there's some good news brewing down south because word around the team is that Bucky Irving, their starting running back and one of the key pieces of that offense, might finally be ready to suit up again. That's right. After missing multiple weeks with that shoulder injury, he practiced this week. It wasn't full speed, but for the first time in a while, it looks like Tampa could have its main back in uniform come Sunday. Now, if you're a Bucs fan, you know how big that is. Without Bucky, this offense has been trying to find itself. The ground game's been inconsistent, the rhythm's been off, and Baker Mayfield's had to carry way too much of the load. The coaches didn't want to risk it last week, and honestly, who can blame them? The last thing you want is to rush a guy back just to lose him again before the stretch run. We all remember what happened with Mike Evans. Plays one drive, takes a big shot, and suddenly you're without one of your best playmakers for a month. Tampa wasn't about to repeat that. But now, with Irving trending upward, everything changes. His presence opens up this playbook in a way that neither Rashad, White, nor Sean Tucker could. Those guys have had moments, sure, but they're not the same kind of threat. Bucky brings that dual-threat dimension. He's dangerous as a runner and as a receiver, and when he's on the field, the defense has to account for him every snap. That's the kind of player that shifts how a defense lines up. If he's back, Buffalo can't just throw 2 and 3 defenders at Ibuka every time the ball's snapped. That's been the move lately. Load up on Ibuka, bracket him in coverage, and force Baker to look elsewhere. But that's exactly how Tez Johnson exploded last week. He was wide open because everyone was focused on Ibuka. You give him that kind of space again, and he'll make you pay. Now, here's the thing. The Bills already got a taste of Tez in the preseason, and they didn't have an answer. He tore them up back then, and now, with real stakes on the line, he's got a chance to do it again. But Buffalo's defense isn't built the same way anymore. They've got injuries of their own, and that run defense, man, it's been shaky. If there's a soft spot in this team, that's it. You can run on them. They've given up big gains all year, and that's where Tampa could really do damage if Irving's in uniform. From Buffalo's perspective, though, it's not all sunshine either. The passing offense, yeah, the numbers look fine if you just check the stat sheet. But when you actually watch the games, it's been messy. There's a lack of rhythm. It's a lot of Josh Allen trying to make magic on the fly. Dalton Kincaid, their best pass catcher right now, won't be playing. That's a big loss. They could get Josh Palmer back, maybe Gabe Davis too, but still, that's not the same. There's no consistent number 1 option in this offense right now. The last time Buffalo faced Tampa, Gabe Davis had a strong outing, but that was back when the scheme still had a sense of balance. Now it's all over the place. What's weird is that Josh Allen continues to make it work, even with a receiving core that doesn't exactly strike fear into anybody. Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman are solid, but they're not stars. Still, Allen somehow finds ways to keep the offense moving. You just never know if it's going to be one of those nights where he catches fire, or one where the offense sputters for 2.5 quarters. It's been that kind of year, moments of brilliance mixed with long stretches of frustration. And when you take Kincaid out of that equation, it's hard to see where that spark's supposed to come from. Dawson Knox can step in, but he's not that same reliable go-to target. What's funny is, even with all that, nobody's writing off Josh Allen. He's the ultimate wild card. When he's on, he's unstoppable, throwing darts, bulldozing through defenders, making plays that no one else in the league can. But when things start breaking down around him, that's when the bad habits come out. You see the risky throws, the turnovers, the frustration. And you can feel that this organization is reaching a turning point. Josh is about to hit 30 next May, which is crazy to think about, and the Bills still haven't given him that true number 1 wide receiver to carry into his prime. Keon Coleman was supposed to be that guy, but every week it looks less and less likely that he's going to be the one. There was that rumor about the team trying to trade for Jalen Waddle. Imagine that. But they wouldn't give up their first-round pick for 2026, only for 2027. It's like, come on, if you believe your window is now, you make the move. Instead, they stood pat, and now this passing game is under the microscope more than ever. Joe Brady's the man calling plays, and he's got a real test ahead of him because Tampa's defense is not one you can take lightly. Todd Bowles, or as they like to joke, Todd BS, has built one of the most aggressive blitz packages in the league. The Bucs are second in pressure rate across the entire NFL, and they're not shy about sending heat. The Bills have faced that kind of pressure before, but it hasn't always gone well. Go back to the Falcons game, Allen struggled. The timing was off, and the line couldn't hold up. Same story against Miami, when simulated pressures confuse the entire offense. That's the kind of stuff Bowles loves to dial up. He disguises looks, drops defensive ends into coverage, and sends nickel corners flying off the edge. It's organized chaos, and it works because it forces quarterbacks to think fast, and when they think fast, they make mistakes. But Tampa's got their own headaches on defense. The injury list keeps growing, and the front seven isn't at full strength. They're probably going to be without one of their key edge rushers again this week, and that's huge. Without that presence, Bowles might blitz even more, which is risky against a mobile quarterback like Allen. Because, yeah, if you send too many and he escapes the pocket, suddenly you've got Josh Allen running downfield for 15 or 20 yards before anyone can touch him. That's the balancing act Bowles has to manage. Bring enough pressure to disrupt, but not so much that you lose containment. And speaking of containment, that's exactly where Tampa's offense might find its advantage, in those soft spots of Buffalo's zone defense. The Bills play zone on more than 70% of their defensive snaps. That's a dream scenario for route technicians like Ibuka, who can sit down in those open windows, find soft spots, and move the chains. Tez Johnson's another one, deadly after the catch, especially when defenders give him space. Against that kind of coverage, both of them could have huge days. Add a healthy Bucky Irving to the mix, and suddenly you've got a three-headed problem for the Bills to deal with. But the game might actually be decided in the trenches. Tampa's interior offensive line has been patchwork lately. Injuries, depth issues, guys playing out of position. They're on their third combination in as many weeks, and it shows. Buffalo's interior defensive line isn't exactly elite either, so it's a matchup of who's less shaky. Graham Barton's been steady at center, but the guards are a big question mark. Tampa's depth chart has been stretched thin, and they even had to pull Dan Feeney off Buffalo's practice squad recently. Talk about irony. And look, on the other side, Vita Vea continues to be the one-man wrecking crew that he's always been. It doesn't matter who lines up across from him. When he's healthy, he changes the math for an offense. The Bills' interior line has held up okay this year, but going up against Vea is a whole different animal. He's a space eater, a tone setter, and if he's on his game, Buffalo could have a long night trying to establish the run. But the biggest wild card might be James Cook. He's still one of the most electric backs in the league, and every time he touches the ball, he's a threat to score from anywhere. Tampa's coming off a game where they gave up two massive touchdown runs, one for 55 yards, another for 69. If they're not disciplined, Cook's going to take advantage of that in a hurry. And it's not just on the ground. He's a legitimate weapon catching passes out of the backfield. That's been a weak spot for Tampa's defense this season. They've struggled to contain pass-catching running backs, giving up chunk plays and first downs that keep drives alive. That's where Allen could really hurt them, not necessarily with deep bombs downfield, but with smart, short throws to his backs that let them do the work. The Bills haven't leaned on that as much as they could this year, but this matchup almost demands it. With limited weapons on the perimeter, the answer might be underneath, quick passes, dump-offs, screens. It keeps the rush honest, forces Tampa's linebackers to cover in space, and gives Cook room to operate. So yeah, both sides are dealing with issues. Both have firepower. Both have weaknesses that the other can exploit. It's one of those matchups where every drive feels like it could swing the game. If Tampa gets Bucky Irving back, that could tilt things heavily in their favor. If Buffalo finally finds some rhythm in the passing game, that could flip it right back. Either way, this one's shaping up to be a chess match, not just between the players, but between two coaching staffs trying to outthink each other in real time. And you can bet both sides know what's at stake. When you look deeper into this matchup, what really stands out is how much it's going to come down to adjustments. not just during the week, but in the middle of the game. Both of these teams have had moments this season where they've looked like contenders, and others where you wonder if they even recognize their own playbook. That's what makes this particular showdown so fascinating. It's not just talent against talent. It's two coaching staffs trying to fix their flaws on the fly while their seasons hang in the balance. Let's start with Joe Brady and the Bills offense, because this is where the pressure is sky high. Brady's job is to figure out how to get Josh Allen comfortable again, how to get this passing game back in rhythm. When Buffalo looks good, it's because the timing is sharp and Allen's making decisive throws. But lately, it's been a lot of him bailing out broken plays, running for his life, and trying to do everything himself. That's never sustainable. The big question is whether Brady can create enough quick reads and check down options to neutralize the Bucs blitz. Todd Bowles loves chaos. That's his entire defensive identity. He wants to make you guess who's coming, who's dropping, and before you can process it, somebody's in the backfield. If Buffalo can use the short game, especially through James Cook and the tight ends, that could slow down the rush just enough for Allen to find his rhythm. The problem is the Bills often refuse to take the easy throws. Allen wants the big play. He loves the 25-yard shot down the seam or the deep out that tests the arm strength. And while that's part of what makes him special, it's also what gets him into trouble against defenses like Tampa's. Bowles knows this. He'll bait those throws. He'll disguise coverages to make it look like there's an opening downfield, and then have a safety lurking in the weeds waiting for the pick. It's why this game feels like a mental duel as much as a physical one. For Tampa, the adjustments are just as critical. The offense hasn't looked the same since Irving went down, and they've been trying to manufacture a run game that simply isn't there. Rashad White has been okay in spurts, but the lack of consistent yardage on early downs has forced Baker Mayfield into a lot of third and longs, and that's not where you want to live. If Irving plays and looks like his old self, that gives Tampa a chance to dictate tempo again. It opens up play action, which is where Baker's most comfortable, and it keeps the defense honest. If not, you're asking Baker to drop back 40 times against a Bills front that, while not elite, can still pressure the quarterback when they know what's coming. One matchup that's going to be fascinating to watch is how Tampa's young receivers handle Buffalo's zone defense. Emeka Egbuka has been outstanding at finding those soft spots, sitting down in coverage, and turning simple completions into big gains. He's like a magnet for first downs. Tez Johnson, meanwhile, is the guy who brings the energy and the explosion. He's not just a deep threat. He's the type of player who can catch a screen and turn it into 40 yards. The Bills know this, and they'll likely rotate their safeties to try and limit those yards after catch opportunities. But if the Bucs can force Buffalo to creep up, that opens the door for some shots over the top, and that's when Baker becomes dangerous. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Rumors have been swirling across the NFL community after Patrick Mahomes reportedly made some eye-opening remarks about the Buffalo Bills. Comments that have sent fans, analysts, and even some players buzzing. The Kansas City quarterback, known for his calm and calculated demeanor, seems to have let something slip that has ignited speculation about his true feelings toward one of the Chiefs' most heated rivals. According to whispers from those close to the team, Mahomes' tone during a recent conversation was different, more candid, maybe even a bit pointed. While he didn't go out of his way to criticize the Bills directly, the way he framed his comments has fueled endless interpretation. Some insiders claim Mahomes hinted that certain teams talk more than they play, a line many took as a subtle jab at Buffalo's confident locker room culture. Social media exploded soon after snippets of his remarks began circulating. Chiefs fans defended their quarterback, saying his words were taken out of context, while Bills supporters fired back, accusing Mahomes of disrespect. Sports talk shows quickly jumped on the story, debating whether this was genuine frustration bubbling up or simply another example of the media amplifying a minor comment into a full-blown controversy. What makes this rumor especially fascinating is the timing. With both franchises eyeing deep playoff runs, the tension between Mahomes and the Bills could add another emotional layer to what's already become one of football's most intense modern rivalries. Behind closed doors, teammates reportedly laughed off the chatter, but others believe Mahomes' comments were intentional, a psychological move to stir the pot and assert dominance before the next big clash. Whether it was strategy, sincerity, or simply a misunderstood remark, one thing is clear. Mahomes has once again become the center of attention, not for a dazzling pass or a game-winning drive, but for his words. And in the NFL, sometimes words hit just as hard as any tackle. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.